Hi guys, I want to talk about some social and political theories, and as you may be aware, for some time now we've been handling this course poly for two social and political theory, and we discussed a lot of such theories. Today I want to talk about liberalism and see how it is um, to be distinguished from another theory called communitarianism. And then, if there is time, I would also talk about utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham. Now, when we talk about liberalism, there is liberalism as a model of economic development or an ideology, and that is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about liberalism as a social and political theory. But maybe for starters, if you are talking about liberalism as a model of economic development, you are essentially talking about the fact that there should be freedom and the state should just allow the market forces to determine the pricing of goods and services. The idea is that when various firms, companies, and business entities are allowed to interact among themselves, such freedom to interact would naturally force pricing of goods and services to appreciable levels that can be in the interest of the ordinary people. There is new classical liberalism, and then there is classical liberalism. Classical liberalism is about the need for the state not to play any role, just allow the market forces to interact among themselves. But when you talk about new classical liberalism, the state just comes in to create the congenial atmosphere and environment for businesses to thrive, and then afterwards the frontiers of the state are rolled back, and the state plays the role, like, if you like, a watchman that comes in to fix things when things are not working well, and then goes back to observe what is going on. But I want to talk about liberalism as a political theory. Now, when we talk about liberalism as a political theory, essentially we are talking about the liberties and freedom of an individual to exist, to act, and to function without coercion. You must be able to exist and do whatever you want to do, but without being forced or without fear or without being coerced. To the liberalist, one is free to the extent that no man forces him or her to act in a particular way that interferes with his activity. So you are free to the extent that no one is able to force you to act in a particular way that interferes with whatever activity you want to undertake. So the liberalists believe that coercion is something that undermines freedom, as it controls the environment for activity and compels individuals to act in a particular manner in order to avoid a greater evil of punishment. And so if you are acting in a certain manner just because you want to avoid punishment or a greater evil, then that kind of act is deemed to have been influenced by coercion, and coercion is essentially something that the liberalists do not always tolerate. So there is coercion when one is unable to act in accordance with a coherent plan of his own, but to serve the ends of others just to avoid being harmed or punished. And liberalists, like I said, are very much intolerant of this. Now, according to them, the individual right is more crucial and must be extolled than communal rights. When you talk about liberalists, they focus more on individual rights. They are more individualistic, and they believe that the individual human right should always be of importance than the collective rights of society. That's how come, I mean, if you look at the Bible, people are saying that God was a liberalist because and Jesus Christ was a liberalist because he gave a parable of somebody having 100 sheep, and then one of them got lost, and then the 99 were left, and then the one was pursued. And that is liberalism. The individual right is more important than the collective communal rights of a society. And because they believe in the invaluability of human rights. Now, the individual must have a right and the right to do anything he chooses to do, so long as, notice this the exercise of this particular right does not infringe on the rights of people. So, as an individual, you have the right to do anything that you want to do, but you should be sure that in exercising your right, the exercise of your right would not infringe on the right of people. So, in this regard, liberalism is bounded by laws. The exercise of your right must be done in a manner with recourse to obedience of laws. So even though you are free, J.J. Rousseau talk about the fact that man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. It means that freedom is not licentious for lawlessness. Even though you are free to do anything that you want to do, you are supposed to act also within the confines of laws, so that your right to exist and your right to freely express yourself and your right to do anything you please would not undermine laws and order, and will not also violate the rights of others. And so a line of demarcation must be drawn between liberalism and anarchism. Now, when we talk about liberalism, your rights are circumscribed or limited by what the laws of the land says. But in anarchism, you are free to do anything you please. You do not have to be limited by any law. And people are free to behave like they are in a jungle, and they can assert any right that they want to assert, and they don't have to respect any law. And that is anarchism. There is an idea that if anarchism is made to persist for a long time, it in itself brings about some peace. Lawlessness, when they are tolerated for a long time and people feel that lawlessness is killing them or destroying them, then it forces them to wise up and to reason to bring about peace. But like I said, if you are talking about liberalism, it says that you have the right to do anything you want to do, but you must exercise your right within the confines of given laws, and your right as you exercise must not violate other people's rights. And the other thing that we want to talk about is that so liberalism frowns on arbitrariness. It talks about equality of all men before laws. It talks about freedom of expression, but it is sure to say that your right to express yourself must not be licentious for defamation. So you can express yourself, but you don't have to insult or say things that defame other people. And then also liberalism favors the limited state. When you are, it doesn't want a situation where the state is always poking its nose into the affairs of the ordinary people. The frontiers of the state under the aegis of liberalism must be rolled back, so that the state is not always coming in to dictate what one must do and what one must not do. The state essentially must play the role of a referee, coming in to fix problems, create an enabling environment for people to thrive, and afterwards its frontiers gets rolled back. In terms of what is good about liberalism, it talks about human rights. It extols the virtues of human rights. In terms of what is good about liberalism, it talks about equality of everybody before the law. It talks about freedom of speech. It is a theory that is also not so much in favor of arbitrariness. But in terms of the negatives or criticism, it favors individual rights over collective rights. And it is as if to say that the individual, one person, is more important than all of us. It's problematic. Again, under the aegis of liberalism, people are encouraged to do whatever they want to do, even if it is unacceptable. The idea that you can do whatever you want to do so long as it does not infringe on the rights of others, it's not necessarily good, because in every society there must be acceptable standard, so that even if you are doing something that does not violate the rights of others, you should also be careful to see whether what you are doing is also in line with acceptable standards. So basically, this is what I want to say in terms of liberalism, but I will try in the next lecture to see how it can be contrasted with the ideals of communitarianism. Thank you very much.